Pastor Robert Jeffress is senior pastor at First Baptist Church in Dallas and a Fox News contributor. Pastor, great to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right, I want to give you a couple specific things to respond to. First of all, we have this recollection about the First Lady on the night of the election. Shortly after 8 p.m. on election night, he writes, when the unexpected trend, Trump might actually win, seemed confirmed, Don Jr. told a friend that his father, or DJT as he calls him, looked as if he had seen a ghost. Melania was in tears and not of joy. Your response?
Well, I happened to be in Trump Tower on Election Day, and I got to spend some time with President and Mrs. Trump, and they were relaxed. They were optimistic about the future. Nobody was crying, I can assure you. And Shannon, admittedly, I didn't spend all day with the Trumps. I didn't spend most of the day with the Trumps, but I spent more time with the Trumps than Michael Wolff did, and I can tell you that is just an inaccurate portrayal.
Is it your sense that either one of them did or didn't expect him to win, or did or didn't want him to win? Did you ever hear the First Lady, because there are these intimations that she didn't want to give up her life, that she didn't want him to win, to run, any of that?
No, I never heard any of that, and certainly not from President Trump. He said over and over again that if he didn't win, this whole exercise was absolutely futile. And so it's a completely fictitious notion, the idea that he did not want to win. And Shannon, here's the overall problem with this book. Michael Wolff claims to have spent a grand total of 3 hours with President Trump over 18 months writing this book. I've spent more time than that just a few weeks ago with him over a 2-day period of time. I was with him in the Oval Office. I stood next to him at several public events. I was with him and the First Lady twice in the upstairs residence. I saw him more energized, more focused on his agenda than in the 2 years that I have known him. In fact, in the Oval Office, he recalled with great detail the nuance of a brief conversation from 2 years ago. I was so amazed, I said to one of his staff members, he doesn't forget a thing, does he? And they said, no, he doesn't. So this picture of an incoherent president who doesn't recognize people and is constantly repeating himself, that may be appealing to President Trump's enemies, but it has no basis in reality.
Okay, with that in mind, I want to play a little bit of soundbite from Congressman Jamie Raskin talking about this meeting that a number of lawmakers had with a psychiatrist who said essentially he's falling apart. We're watching it happen. Here's Representative Raskin.
I think she spoke for a lot of people in the mental health community in telling us that there are growing signs of paranoia, delusion, and isolation in the president's behavior, and any hope that we had that it might turn around or get better was dashed by the discussion.
Okay, paranoia, delusion, and isolation. She said that he was falling apart. Wolff says 100% of the people around him think that he's got mental fitness issues. Does that line up with the man that you're spending time with?
No, it doesn't at all. Now, look, Shannon, if there is a kernel of truth in this book, it is the charge that President Trump is not, quote, normal. He isn't normal, which is why the American people put him in office to begin with. The American people were tired of a normal that said we ought to accept subpar economic growth, that we ought to accept ISIS as a continuing reality, that our best days were behind us. This president said no to that kind of normal, and I think more and more Americans are grateful that the president isn't, quote, normal and has established a new normal for America. That's what's going on here.
It is a different day here in Washington. Pastor Jeffress, always great to chat with you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Shannon.